Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining me. Today is February 7th, 2023. My name is Tony Martinez, and we're doing another distressed properties market update and intro to the CDPE. Sit back, relax, get ready to take some notes because I have a lot of information coming your way. Before we get started, quick introductions. My name is Tony Martinez. I know a lot of you know me, but for those that we have never met, I am one of you. I am a Florida licensed broker. So what I teach and pass on are items that we use, ideas we use every single day. This is not just theory. I got the title Master Short Sale Instructor when I used to work for the CDP back in 08, 09, 10. When I got to 5,000 agents that I had taught, Alex, the former owner, bestowed me with the title Master Short Sale Instructor. And I went, oh, that's cool. I go, what do I get when I get to 10,000? Can I be Grandmaster? And he said, no. I says, okay, I had to ask. But now I'm up to about 15,000 agents. I lost count. Honestly, I lost count so long ago how many agents I taught about distressed properties and short sales in particular. But needless to say, I think I am an authority on the subject. And I am the very proud owner of the CDP that was posted in the chat a little while ago. A lot of folks do not know that the CDP actually shut down in 2020. The former owners just stopped supporting it. I acquired it in May of 2021, and brought it back in June of 2021. And I've been teaching ever since. And our movement is gaining steam, momentum. We're up to almost 2,000 members across the country. We should easily exceed 5,000 members by the time the year is over. We're already back on RE/MAX University. If you're part of the RE/MAX system, you have a very special pricing structure for our online on-demand course in RE/MAX. We're going to be at the RE/MAX convention later on this month, and we're also going to be at the Century 21 convention in March. So we have been busy. Today, in the short time that I have, I want to cover three main areas. Number one is, are we going to have another wave of foreclosures? And this is an area I get into some deep discussions, actual arguments over. And I always ask people, look, just hear me out. All right. Maybe you're already on board with the idea that things ain't right. Maybe you're thinking, maybe you're like, who's this idiot to tell me that, things are going to go south? Well, just do me a favor. Just give me an open mind for 45 minutes. That's all I ask. At the end, maybe there's some points I bring up that you say, I hadn't really thought about that. Maybe you still think I'm crazy, which you would not be alone. And then you might say, you know what, this guy's really on top of it. He gave me something to think about that I hadn't really thought of. You know what? There's always been foreclosures. Ever since there's been home ownership, there's been foreclosures. They never went away. They never will go away. And every single time somebody loses their home to foreclosure, there are dire consequences, sometimes very long-lasting consequences. And what tends to happen is the typical real estate professional is not very adept at sharing what these are. And consequently, they're not very effective at getting someone that's going through all the emotions of foreclosure and getting these individuals to take some positive actions to avoid foreclosure. I want to share what some of these consequences are with you. That's my gift to you. And it's also to give you a little preview on what it is that I teach during my CDPE designation class. The CDPE stands for Certified Distressed Property Expert. We are not affiliated with NAR. We are not affiliated with any association. We are a private designation, but we're good at what we do. Here's what I'm not. I'm not an economist. And I've said many times before, I didn't even graduate from high school. So I'm not professing to be some kind of financial guru or expert attorney, any of this stuff. But I do read, and I read a lot, and I see signs, and I want to share what these signs are with you and see if maybe I can get you to potentially, wake up to some opportunities that exist out there, because yes, there are some opportunities for individuals that are willing to go after this segment of the market. What segment am I referring to? Very, very simple. I am talking about the distressed property segment. Now, here's what we are and what we're not. I'll start with what we're not. We're not sexy. Those of you that have gone through a luxury class, that's sexy. I mean, there's a line of people wanting to be luxury agents. You don't see people usually standing in line to work with distressed properties. So we're not sexy, but we're not crowded either. In fact, it's the low-hanging fruit. Most agents will run from distressed properties. A lot of agents don't even know that there is a market out there for them working distressed properties. So this is what this course is all about. Because if you don't believe me, just do a search right now. Open up a different screen. If you use IMAP, if you guys are in an MLS system that uses IMAP, go into IMAP. Go into IMAP and go where you have the ability to search for foreclosures. Put in the zip code that you service or zip codes that you service. Take a look at some of the foreclosure numbers you have right now. For many agents, they weren't even aware these existed. Here's what I don't want you to be. I don't want you to be like a lot of real estate agents, and worse, a lot of industry leaders, that this is their mindset when it comes to distressed properties. See, a lot of executives at real estate companies are so concerned with messaging that they're actually hurting their agents by not giving them access to this training. It's only a handful of people that I've reached out to that actually respond and say, I see value in what you're doing. It's okay. My feelings are a little bruised, but I recover. You know why? I know what's coming. And I know what's going to happen over the next 6 to 8 months. And I know how many of them are going to be reaching out to me saying, hey, Tony, you still willing to come out and teach my agents? This is all going to happen, folks. And it's not because I'm some guru, but because I'm old. I've been around for a while. I was around through 2008. A lot of agents are licensed right now. They haven't been through anything like this before. Many of the people in real estate right now have never been through a market where interest rates were higher than 5%. What do you know about massive foreclosures? But it's coming because history has a way of what? Repeating itself. Now, before you get all high and mighty on me and tell me that it is impossible to have a foreclosure crisis because there is so much equity in the market, maybe this meme will wake you up. Having equity and being able to make your mortgage payments are two separate issues. You feel me? Because a lot of people don't get that. Let's assume that there is a lot of equity out there. What good does it do if you can't borrow against it to keep your payments up to date? Boeing just announced 2,000 layoffs. Okay, 2,000 people being laid off. You've heard about all the other layoffs, more on this later. How many of those 2,000 people may not have the money set aside to be able to make their payments next month? Maybe sitting on equity doesn't do them any good. They can't keep the home. So keep that in mind as we go back to this a little bit later. Now, I have very strong opinions, but at the end of the day, the only thing that matters are facts. So I'm going to share some numbers, write these down. Source, Adam Data. They're amazing. So last year, we had some foreclosures. We had an increase in foreclosures. We had 115% increase in foreclosures over 2021. Now look at this graph. I joined the CDP in 2008. Then it really got busy. And between 2009 and 2010, I was traveling all over the country. I was in front of an audience every single week. Then you can see things started improving significantly, right? And right about here is where a whole lot of people came into the market. A lot of people came into the real estate market. They got their license because life was good. And then what happens is we forgot that this happened. It's in the past. Then you get all the way over here. Look at 2019, before COVID, we had almost 500,000 foreclosures. So there's always been foreclosures, but then they were artificially shut down during most of 2020 and 2021 due to what? The federal moratoriums against evictions and foreclosures. That caused a false sense of security. Now, right about this time here is where I decided to go back to training on short sales. I was doing my own thing. Why? I'll tell you. How many people took advantage of the government's forbearance agreements? About 8 million. See, it all started with, hey, you can't make your payments? It's all good. Take 6 months off of making your payments. I'm kidding. Take 12 months off. I was just joking. 18 months. Oh, you have an FHA mortgage? Take 2 years and don't have to make your payments. So 8 million people took advantage of this. And I started looking at this going, how many of those are going to be under the impression that they're never going to have to repay that money? They're never going to have to pay it back. I go, enough that in 2 or 3 years, we're going to have some issues. And of course, when you saw all the lockdowns and all the businesses being shut down and everything else, you started thinking, wait a minute, how long is this going to last? There's going to be some people that are going to be having issues. And that's when I dusted off my short sale training and started teaching it via Zoom. And then in 2021, I got the idea to acquire the most recognizable name in short sales and distressed property training, the CDPE. By the way, I'm hearing somebody is not muted there. So if we can go ahead and find out who that person is and say, please mute yourself. So all we got to do is get back to 2019 numbers, and we're headed that way. And we're going to see another significant jump in the numbers. So I am not predicting another 2008, 9, or 10. I am not predicting a crash. I don't know what's going to happen. Anything is possible, but that's not how I'm marketing my class. I'm not marketing my class based on doom and gloom and fear and the sky is falling. It's just based on the fact that every single day, bad things happen to good people, and somebody needs to step up and help them to go through the issues and options that are available to them. Now, where are the top 10 states? Let me see where you're at right there. You got Illinois, #1, New Jersey, Delaware, Ohio, South Carolina, Nevada. See, a lot of stuff happening out west. Florida, my native state there, #7, Indiana, Maryland, and Michigan. Does this look familiar to you all? Anybody was around back in 2008 and 9 and you knew which were the top foreclosure states back then? See, what started off as a subprime crisis became a great recession crisis. And what started off as basically South Florida spread throughout the entire country. And that's why we were flying all over the country teaching this class. Now, top 5 states for foreclosure starts, that means initiation. California, baby, that's why I'm going out there in March. I got a program set up, not yet on the calendar, but we're looking at March 20th in San Francisco, March 21st in Sacramento, Texas, getting calls from Texas all the time. Florida, I got 2 coming up this month. Illinois, Debbie's gonna get me out there one way or another. And Ohio, we gotta talk Ohio. You know why? Top 10 zip codes for foreclosure rates in this country, 8 of them are from Ohio. What's happening in Ohio? There's something happening in Ohio, and I need to get out there and do some training quick. So you see, these are the repeat offenders, the most usual suspects. Nothing changes. What other factors are contributing? And the term wave, I've had people say, Tony, are we really going to get a wave? Well, the term wave can be relative, right? Here are some how I see it. Write these down. You at the end say, or you're full of it. I get both answers all the time. The feds have been doing a number on the real estate industry. Unless you've been away for the last year, you know what's been going on. What did we celebrate just last week? We celebrate the fact that they only raised it 1/4 of a point. And people go, that's it. We're turning this around. It's all going to get better. Wall Street didn't seem to think so. Now, not that they know everything, but what happened a couple of days after the feds only raised it, 25 basis points? The job report, the latest job reports came out, and didn't we add 517,000 jobs? So you're thinking with that much employment, with the lowest unemployment rate in 50 years, there is no possibility of recession. Things are good. But how many people picked up on the fact that the feds are out to cool the economy? They have to cool the economy. They've stated it. They've already said they're going to have at least one more increase. And we were hoping that this next increase would also only be 25 basis points. Now, if the economy is still very, very hot, might that cause the feds to go back to a more aggressive stance on rates? We don't know. Powell was speaking today in front of a group. I haven't been able to catch that to see what signs, if any, he gave, but keep an eye on this. Unemployment. This is tricky. How can we have any issues whatsoever with our economy? See, let me back up a second. When I get into arguments, and I've gotten into arguments with people about the foreclosure wave that's coming, they try to use the equity thing, and I've already debunked that. I think you would agree that my position is solid. And I tell them, I go, guys, we're not going to have the same reasons behind foreclosures that we did in 2008. In 2008, it was all about subprime loans, and then it was unemployment. This time around is going to be economically driven. You guys have seen the layoffs that have been announced within the tech segment, right? You've seen them within the real estate segment. You've seen it within the lending area. You know, I mean, if someone had told you a month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, that Wells Fargo would essentially be pulling out of residential mortgages, would you have said, oh yeah, I can see that happening? You would have said, oh no, that can never happen. Yet hundreds of thousands of people are being laid off, or at least within the real estate segment, tens of thousands. Well, it's spreading now, and you're going to hear more and more announcements. So here's my thing. Boeing just announced that they're going to lay off 2,000 people. Okay, who's going to be the next? What's going to be the next segment that's going to be announcing layoffs?
No, Ginger, you got time for that.
Someone needs to. We should have a Zoom 101 class, right? Okay, so thank you. All right, so keep an eye on unemployment, because that's what's going to drive everything. Here's a homework assignment, right? Wherever you live, that's what you should be concerned about. The markets you service, focus on those. Who are your top employers in your area? What is happening at these companies? Follow your local business publications. Keep up to speed as to who is doing what. These are going to go under the radar because they may not be national firms. They don't need to be national firms. They just need to be firms that impact the people in the areas that you service. And that's going to tell you everything you need to know. What's happening with consumer debt? Okay, well, here's my feeling, right? And I've questioned my own beliefs. I've gone to restaurants. And have you gone to a restaurant lately? Has it been packed? Yeah. And you're thinking, people are spending money like drunken sailors. It can't be, there can't be a recession, but that's simple. There's a segment of the population that's not going to be impacted at all. I said it from the very beginning. If you're in the upper middle class, very high up there, you're not going to feel any pain. You're going to be just fine. It's the middle class and lower that are going to be feeling it when eggs have gone up 60%. And food is up 10 to 14% and everything else. The average American home is being stretched. But then again, there are people that live like there's no tomorrow and they're borrowing. So what's happening to our credit card debt? Highest it's ever been. Now it gets worse. Yes, this is why they don't invite me to parties, because I tend to bring everybody down. What happens is our personal savings. Have we ever been accused of being a nation of savers? No, we're not very good at saving. So here's something, right? Americans' personal savings have fallen off a cliff. As far as red flags go, this could be a big one. Now watch this. So before I share this one, or you're actually reading it already, on our private Facebook group, I shared, because the CDP has its own group, I shared an article that came out that talks about how 64% of Americans, 64% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, including the 100,000 a year category. They're living paycheck to paycheck, and many of them never make it from one paycheck to the other without assistance from a paycheck advance place. Now, this one came out about 2 or 3 days later. Bankrate did a survey of over 1,000 individuals, and only 43% of them would be able to pay an emergency expense of $1,000 or more from their savings account. Tell me that doesn't send chills through your body right now. When you see how many people are wrestling with everything in their life costing more. How many of you have seen your property taxes going up, your insurance going up, your homeowner associations going up? You don't have to have an adjustable rate mortgage to see your monthly household related expenses going up. The property taxes, insurance, and homeowners association are taking care of that. Then you add everything else to the equation and the American family is being squeezed. Are we not? Are we going to have a recession? Me personally, yes. Technically, we went through one earlier last year, but I think the bigger one is coming. Because once you set that in motion, you just don't go ahead and turn it and say, okay, guys, everything is okay. We're going to stop. Things are in motion now. And companies are going to be laying off a lot of folks. People are waking up to the fact that maybe, just maybe, they ought to stop spending more. So watch what's going to happen when unemployment reaches close to 5% and just 5% of individuals start spending less. When those two meet, it's going to get interesting. And yes, there are a lot of folks out there that are using a lot of sensationalistic tactics to get your attention, to watch their videos about the end of the world and everything. But when you see past that and you look at some of their stats, it actually makes sense what a lot of them are saying. So, housing bubble. How many of you were licensed in 2006 and 7? Do you remember when we were talking about housing bubble back in the day and how the industry pushed back and went after anyone that would dare even insinuate that there was a housing bubble? What happened in 2008? Crash. Did it happen gradually or did it happen essentially overnight? Essentially overnight. So last year, when I started saying, guys, this appreciation that we're experiencing across the country, this is like us getting high on our own supply. How much Kool-Aid are you going to drink that you're going to go ahead and expect that you're going to have 10 years of appreciation in 2 years and not expect that at some point you got to pay the piper? Well, now every day there's an article. Go check out the latest one on fortune.com that talks about CoreLogic's estimate of what's going to happen in over 392 different metropolitan areas and how many of them are in the high to very high as far as potential for price reductions. Where are my Californians at? How many of you in California are already seeing the price reductions? We're seeing them happen in different areas of the country. No, it's not happening all at one time. Here in Florida, we're not seeing what we call it a reduction in property values yet. What we're seeing is incredibly high reductions in list price and selling prices, price reductions. The sellers are waking up to the fact of, I missed it. I missed that window by 6 to 8 months. Now, let's talk a little bit more about this situation where we are an equity-rich nation. Based on what? Because I gotta tell you something, right around the corner from my office over here in Davie, Florida, there's a neighborhood, real nice neighborhood here. One of my agents listed a property a few months ago, sold it for $60,000 above appraised price. Above appraised price. Now, you guys have all experienced this probably in your area, and you may have participated in some of these deals. So you tell me, does that mean that every home in that subdivision now or on that block is now all of a sudden worth $60,000 more? So in other words, we're equity rich based on what? Now, let me ask you something. What do Americans do when they have money in their pocket? It burns a hole in it. They can't stand themselves. So how many people refinanced once, twice, thrice when they could? Did they refinance for rate and terms only, or did they couldn't resist taking out some cash because mama, papa needs that plastic surgery? So what happens is, what's back that you didn't even hear about for years? HELOCs. There are agents that go, what's a HELOC? Exactly, home equity line of credit. You know that you can borrow against your home right now up to 90% loan to value? Does this not kind of remind you a little bit of 2006 and 7 when we could borrow 105% of our value back in the day? Now, you guys are down with me on this, but check this out. According to Yahoo, money.yahoo, 270,000 home buyers who bought in 2022 are already underwater. If you were one of the fortunates that bought in the last year and a half at the top of the market with very little to no down payment, like for example, FHA, 3.5%, VA, no money down, you're probably underwater, or you're soon to be underwater. I ain't making this up. Making it up would be easy. It's finding the real stats that's a challenge. Now, do we have as much equity as before? Check out this Black Knight report. Third quarter of last year. I haven't been able to get the fourth quarter one. But in the third quarter of last year, prices went down nationally by only 2.6%. We're above that now. Based on 2.6%, we lost $1.3 trillion in equity. And that's in one quarter. Would it be as bad as 2008? I ain't got a crystal mirror, but let me describe 2008 to you. This was 2008. This was a homeowner standing on this rock, a distressed homeowner facing 100-foot tsunami. That's what it was like. Now, this year, next year, same rock, different homeowners, I pray. Tsunami, not as bad. It's only a 20-footer. So if you're standing in front of a 20-foot tsunami, are you thanking your lucky stars is not a 100-footer? Or are you bracing for impact? We don't have to have millions of foreclosures. One's too many. For that individual that's going through it, one's too many. And why am I so passionate about this? Because you know who mobilizes the quickest when people are at their worst position? The scammers and the con men. They're the ones that mobilize the quickest. What do you think's been happening on the west coast of Florida as a result of the hurricane and all the devastation that's happened there? Who moved in right away to help people? Scammers and con artists posing as investors. Yet we as real estate professionals, we're sitting on our hands waiting for some burning bush to tell us what to go do. What you need to do is go out there and start reaching out to people. Right now, anybody that's in foreclosure is probably scrambling for answers and solutions. Someone that is not going to take advantage of them. Now, are we going to get more short sales? Okay, well, let's look at it this way. Back in 2008, 2009, whatever, I would say that for every 10 foreclosures, 6, 7, maybe more were underwater. So people automatically equated foreclosure to short sales. I'm having to re-message this. You cannot do that this time around. This time around, for every 10 foreclosures, 6 or 7 or more probably have equity, which is good news for them. And it's also good news for you because in that scenario, it's a regular sale. But please tell me, why should anybody with equity that cannot afford to stay in that home, why would they allow the bank to foreclose? Why not simply list it with a local real estate professional and get out with whatever they can? So this is the new messaging behind the new CDPE. Don't put blinders on. Don't automatically assume that somebody in foreclosure is a short sale. No, you have to do some digging. You need to ask some questions. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities for you to go list regular sales that are in foreclosure with the intent of getting that property sold and closed before the sale date. Now, be careful. I was in Illinois teaching at a RE/MAX office a couple of months ago. Toward the very end of the class, one of the agents raised his hand and says, Tony, let me tell you what's going on with me. I represent a buyer, not the seller. I represent a buyer in a property. It's 4 days before closing. They just got the numbers and the property's underwater. So let me ask you, for those of you that have listings right now, do you know for a fact they have equity? Have you asked for payoffs? Have you done a lien search to see if there's no surprises on there? Because there's a lot of agents that are going to be caught off guard. And then they have potential liabilities for not being aware and not asking these questions. Think about these things. Low-hanging fruit. You know, the CDPE back in its day, we had almost 49,000 members. When I bought it, it was never the intention that I was going to get to 49,000 members. I figured we'd get to 10, maybe 15 over 2 or 3 years. Because the reality is, it's a niche. It's not the market. Now, I don't know what's going to happen. Things could go pretty bad. I'm not predicting that. I'm saying that every single day right now, there's an opportunity for you to take more listings. And isn't that the name of the game? Now, whether equity or short sale, I'm trying to avoid this, REO. I'm not going to teach you REOs, real estate owned. You know why? When it gets to the REO stage, that means that the bank has already foreclosed on the property. The homeowner is now going to have to live with all of the negative consequences. I'm trying to avoid that. And yes, there's a percentage of agents out there that want to be REO agents. Then they realize it's easier said than done. Most of the banks already have their REO agents in place and blah, blah, blah. And here's my thinking. Why have to go through that dog and pony show of auditioning? Why don't you reach out to the homeowner? Because they have the right to list with whomever they feel comfortable with. So go directly to the end user and bypass all this stuff. That's what I teach you to do. Through chaos, there's opportunity. You know that back in the day, we saved maybe over 1 million people from foreclosure, the CDP movement, over 1 million. We helped accelerate the recovery efforts. And you know that a lot of CDPs had their best earning years ever during that time because they became so adept at helping homeowners. And when you help one, the referrals you get from those are just, it seems like it doesn't stop. So for all these reasons, and most importantly, because they need the help, become a CDPE. That's what I'm here to do. I'm growing the membership by providing training that is second to none. Here's a little bit about what I teach in the class, my gift to you. Memorize this, because when you're working with someone that's losing their home, it's so emotionally charged, they're not thinking straight, they're making bad decision upon bad decision. So use the carrot or the stick approach to motivate them. For example, hey, so your home, the bank is going to do the sale date in 2 months. Are you aware of that? Oh, yeah, I don't care. Let them take the house. Really? No, that's the last thing you want. Do you know that if you let them foreclose on you, that foreclosure will be on your credit report for up to 7 years? You know that most people will probably go, what? That long? No, I don't want that. That's the stick. Some people are like, I don't care, man. I really, truly don't care. All right, so that arrow didn't work. So then I go and I change strategies. I go with the carrot and I say, okay, but let me ask you something. Please answer honestly. Do you think you'd ever want to be a homeowner again in the future? Or do you just want to rent for the rest of your life? What do you think they're going to say? You're going to say, yeah, of course, I would like to be a homeowner again in the future. Okay, so let me ask you something. Would you like to, A, live with the restriction of not being able to buy again for 5 to 7 years, or have the option, if you let me help you with this short sale, of being able to get financing maybe in as low as 2 or 3 years? Which would you prefer? What do you think overwhelmingly the answer would be? When you can share with them that they won't be able to keep a secret, it becomes part of their disclosure, maybe for the rest of their lives, that their credit score is going to be badly, badly hurt having a foreclosure on the record. When was the last time one of you guys looked at a credit report? Take a look at one. You're going to see there's a category for foreclosure and there's a category for bankruptcy, but there is no category for short sale. In many cases, a short sale, the individuals recover significantly faster than having a foreclosure. And by the way, a lot of people will do bankruptcy thinking that it solves their problems. It doesn't. The bankruptcy is usually followed by a foreclosure. You know how long bankruptcy stays on the record? 10 years. Foreclosure, 7 years. You know more than most real estate agents right now do, just from the few minutes we've been together. What about staying employed? What about getting employed? Well, employers have standards. What if they don't just do a background check, they also do a credit check? There's a lot of companies, a lot of professions, you simply cannot be employed by them if you handle money and have bad credit. Try to get a job as a teller with a foreclosure. Try to get a job for a title or escrow company with a foreclosure or bankruptcy on your record. Good luck. So it could keep them from getting employed. It might keep them from getting the job they wanted. They might actually even lose the job they have now because of the company's policies. You guys hear of security clearances? Well, it's not just secret agents that have them. We also have military personnel, law enforcement, TSA, lots of different jobs require security clearance. Do you know that a foreclosure or bankruptcy could threaten that security clearance? If they lose it, they could lose their job. But do you know that in most cases, many scenarios, a short sale doesn't threaten it? Many people that are going through foreclosure and have security clearances, no one has bothered to even point out that they should be talking to their HR department or their superior officer to find out what may happen if they continue with that path. Serious stuff, folks. Now, for those that are underwater, and let me just point something out that I'll teach you right now. Don't even have a short sale conversation with someone if they're not underwater. You have to be underwater to have a short sale conversation. People get that mixed up all the time. You could be in foreclosure, yet not be underwater, so it wouldn't be a short sale, it would be a regular sale. So what you always have to do is ask, how many mortgages do you have? And then do what Reagan always suggested, trust but verify. Whatever they tell you, don't believe. Make sure you always have your title company or escrow company do a lien search to make sure that there are no surprises. Now, let's say it is a potential short sale. We're going to teach you everything you need to know on how to take that listing. In fact, I take an hour or more to go through my listing presentation for short sales, which is very different from a traditional one. And by the time you're done, you're going to feel so empowered, so confident to go out there and talk to people. It's not funny. But then we not only have to list it, we got to get it under contract with a solid buyer. We have to price it correctly. And then we should be working with a very experienced attorney or short sale negotiator that can do the heavy lifting when it comes to all aspects of the negotiations. I think it is a huge mistake in this day and age for a real estate practitioner to do their own short sale negotiations. We had to back then because nobody knew what they were doing, but we have experts now. I want you to list, sell, close, rinse, repeat. That's what you should be focusing your time on. Not spending hours on hold with the servicer trying to get an answer. Now, please understand, short sales are not an entitlement. You must qualify. First and foremost, they have to prove that they're going through a difficult situation. It's called a hardship. And there are some common ones, but we need documentation. Then we have to look at their financials. Do they have more month at the end of the money? Think on that for a second. In other words, if someone's got more than enough money coming in to make their payments, how can you justify the bank taking a hit to let you off the hook? Last but not least, are they sitting on a lot of assets? And if they are, we're going to have to explain it. Now, if the asset is an IRA or 401k, they cannot seize that. The banks cannot seize. These are retirement accounts. They can't be seized. But the bank or banks can certainly factor that into their decision. So these are the things you have to be aware of. So by the time I'm done with y'all, you're going to know how to interview folks. Just keep in mind, if you do this right, they're not interviewing you, you're interviewing them. And then you decide if these folks are really ready, willing, and able to get on with their lives, and then you elect to let them hire you. So if you're leaning in the direction of being someone that's out there to help distressed homeowners take on distressed properties as a segment to increase your business, and answer this question, why not, given the fact that we have 1.5 million realtors in our country right now? And let me tell you what our country doesn't need. 1.5 million realtors. And let me tell you how many we're going to have at the end of the year, 1.2 million realtors. And since we're back to skills-based, as so many of the big companies are talking about now, and we're back to actually selling and prospecting and doing all this, why would you just completely step over a segment that most people ignore? So that's where the CDPE comes in. I have two ways I can teach you. If you're in an area that I'm teaching a live and in-person class, that's the best way to go. And I got a couple coming up, more coming up, like I mentioned in California. Most people are taking the online because they want it now. But if you want to come out to Florida, if you're in Florida now, you want to wrap a vacation around this, come out to Broward County on the 15th of this month. That's my backyard. You know, I'm teaching it in Sunrise, Florida on the 15th. And then on the 22nd of February, I'm teaching it in Miami. And both of these are sponsored by the Miami Association of Realtors. Now, I am going to be adding more. So you could always ask the question by writing to support@CDPE, support@CDPE. Hey, do you have a class coming up in my area? Maybe we do and we haven't posted it yet, or maybe you could play a role in maybe connecting me with your board, association, or one of the leaders in the area. But if you don't want to wait, get on it right now. It's 24/7 on demand. You have a year to take it. It's about 6.25 hours worth of training, 23 modules. I teach in such a way that people find it easier to understand and implement, and then they have access to this information for a year. We charge $499 for the course. That's not what I'm going to charge you all, but our course does include the first year's membership. And there's a lot of cool things included with the membership. I'll mention that in a sec. After the first year, it's only $99 a year, which is ridiculous. But if I can't show you enough value for you to stick with me year after year, either something's wrong with me or something's wrong with you. Your special price is $399, but you got to use this code that you see on the screen. When you go to cdpe.com, whether you're signing up for a live one or online one, there's a cart. You got to enter where it says discount code save 100. Save 100 will bring it down to $399. Now, oh, what happened there? I lost something. Hey, that's weird. Okay, back there again. So, all right. So I'm having technical issues, so no worries. Here's what we'll do. We'll stop the share there. I'll come back here where I was. And no, I'm losing. We're having a technical difficulty. Anyway, I think that's pretty much covers it. So I'll stop the share. cdp.com. Let's go ahead and see the questions that are. Oh, I got a bunch of them. So, okay. If you attended the Zoom versions, which at the beginning, Kazim, there were 5 modules. Yes, write to let us know which series you started in. We will get you all 5 modules, because that was one of the benefits to the Zoom series back then, is that even after the 2-hour Zoom, you got the session recording as well. Okay, you were there, Daphne, you were there with Alex and Katie. That's right, did a ton of short sales and REOs. Jeremy, awesome. Oh, Debbie, thank you for bringing this up. So if you're an OG, a lot of the OGs were also members of the CDP Advanced program. And that's individuals that wanted their own distressed property website, and they wanted the marketing materials produced for them every month so they wouldn't have to think about it. We brought that back in November, and I'm so proud to say that Debbie was the very first person to sign up for it. And that is really killing it right now, and we have quite a few people doing it. So that's fantastic. Where in Texas? I'm not teaching in Texas yet. I'm looking to get out there. You guys need it. I was actually contacted by a title company. Talk to your board. Talk to your board and or title companies and we'll put something together there. Heather says IMAP results, Broward County, 163 filed in January 15. Yeah. There you go, Heather. Go at it. Zoom just laid off 1,300 people. Wow. Then how is the jobs report so good? If I could answer that question, I'd be doing something else other than this. I don't think a lot of people know why the jobs report is that good. You know, I should stop trying to understand all those because I don't know. You know, back in the day, one way to make the jobs report look good was to not count people that have been unemployed for X amount of time because they automatically dropped off the list. So guess what? When you go unemployed long enough, you now exit that list and you go to a different list called the underemployed list. Pay attention to the underemployed list because that same report that showed that there were 517,000 new jobs also showed that the average work week was 34 hours. So wait a minute. So the average is not even 40 hours. How many of these are part-time employments? So you got to read between the lines. Okay. Okay. Dolores. Hey, Dolores. Okay. So Dolores is here. You got to understand someone. There's very few people I will take a step back to teaching the CDPE. Dolores is one of them. Dolores and I were the two primary CDPE instructors. We were the salaried instructors back in the day. She's also in South Florida and she is coming back. She is teaching CDPE again. So my goodness, so whether it's me or Dolores, or it's going to be Brandon, that's going to be teaching on the West Coast, anyone, there's only two people I trust right now to teach the class better than me, and that's them. Okay. Let me see Jana here, and this is why I buy. Okay. Here in Austin, Texas. Yeah, Austin's going to be hit really hard, guys. Austin is one of the areas that they're talking about. When you go up as much as it did, you have nowhere to go but down, right, Jana? So yeah, that's going to be something to watch really, really closely. Okay. Again, every area is different. What happens is there's different factors that are contributing to it. And at the end right now, the places that went up the most are going to see the biggest reductions, right? Okay. Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you. I use my title company to do a lean search. Absolutely. That's where you start. You always start with how many mortgages do you have? And you know what they're going to answer? One. And you say, no, really. How many mortgages do you have? Because you know what they don't think is a mortgage? A HELOC. They never count the HELOCs and things of that sort. And keep in mind, every day right now at a closing somewhere in the country, someone's finding out about an FHA loan that had been modified back in the day. At a certain balance, I don't know, $10,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 was carried on into an additional loan. Yeah, they're discovering that at the closing table. Let's not do that. Don't be one of them. Okay. How long does it take for a short sale stay on report? There is no category called a short sale. So the answer is, how many payments did you miss? How was it satisfied? It's not just getting the short sale approved, but getting the waiver of deficiency. And also sweet talking the lender into maybe a more favorable write-up on how it was included, right, Debbie?
Right.
Yeah, you know what the biggest stress for me is when I teach to OGs like Debbie, because it's like they know so much. I'm like, man, I hope what I'm saying is right. And whenever the OGs say, you know what, Tony, you're spot on. That's because I'm learning every day. You think that this is something I sit in a classroom for? I'm learning from the CDPs that are in the field every day, sharing what's working, what's not working. Okay.
Tony, can I give an endorsement for
Please.
CDPE? Okay, guys, all of you that are on the call, and maybe even Tony doesn't know this, but in 2009, I sat in Alex Sharfin's class, and at the time I had a major break to my ankle. I crashed when the market crashed. So I took the class, and at the time he said 1 in 10 people in this room probably needs to do a short sale. And actually in the real estate market, because the industry had been so badly hit, it was 1 in 6. So I took the class way back when, and started doing short sales. I had trouble at the time finding attorneys that really did understand what they were doing. So I agree with Tony today about don't try this on your own, but I actually negotiated with the approval of my corporation, my company, to do them as long as I had an attorney review everything I did. 250 or so short sales later, everything Tony is telling you is so spot on, and you are going to help so many people change their lives. These people, I mean, I could pick up the phone and call any one of them or most of them, and they would do anything for me. They just love me so much, and they continually give referrals. And today, this is still happening, and I'm going to get emotional because, you know, it changed. CDPE changed my life. I didn't have to have a foreclosure. I did a short sale, and I helped many other people, and it kept me in business. It kept me supporting myself all these years, and I'm still doing them. Last year, I started out with 8. I carried over 4 of them to this year, and I've got 3 more, and they are happening every day. So people, it is worth your time and your investment. I absolutely love, and I'm going to tell you, and I know Tony isn't talking about this today, but jump from the regular CDPE and spend the money and then go to the advanced CDPE, because he's going to give you all the tools, and this new setup is so much better than we had in the past. So again, this is an unsolicited endorsement, but it's straight from my heart, guys. You are going to be so glad, because there are going to be people that are going to be crying in the room and hugging you, and friends of yours for the rest of your life over it.
Thank you.
Thank
Debbie.
you.
Thank you so much. Anyway, folks, Saul, thank you so much. I'll tell you, when I see someone that I greatly respect, and we're going to be doing some great things together. We had a wonderful talk earlier today, and we're going to get this message out to a lot of people. Because CDP, I don't have CE credits yet in a lot of states. If you have some influence or some experience with that, see, it's been little old me, and then I brought my sister on board and I brought my niece on board, because I'm kind of like doing the CDP initially, running an office of 250 people, and now this is what I do full time. But first it was bring the course back, then bring the advanced back. Now the next step for us is CE, and then the next step that I have to do, I made a promise to do it, is I'm going to start teaching the CDP en español también, porque hay mucha necesidad. So we're going to be also teaching it in Spanish as well, because typically minorities are more adversely affected when these kind of things happen. So we want to make sure that we're reaching out to as many people as possible. Okay. Anyway, Dell is laying off 6,600. Wow. How many of you, does this like deja vu all over again? You're just looking at this and you're going, man, I lived this before. I'm going to be ready. So I think that's it. You know, so here's what's going to happen. We have a YouTube channel that you can go on. I've had past ones of these. I have a video on our YouTube channel. Maybe Jeanette can post a link to the YouTube channel there, and you can go take a look at the video that we did on the advanced program. And continue to support us, folks. Maybe there's 2 other ways that you can get involved. I'd love to see you become an affiliate. An affiliate doesn't cost you anything. In fact, you make 10% every time you share with somebody a code and they sign up and you make money. I'm rolling out what is called the Ambassador program. The Ambassador is going to be 1 level above affiliate and 1 level below certified instructor. There's a whole lot of folks that have a passion to share this information, but don't necessarily have the time and ability to commit to learning how to teach an entire 8-hour class. But if you think that you could do what I just did better, over 40, 45 minutes, become an ambassador. And we could work together to help reach as many agents as possible and create a little extra income for you as well. So if you're interested in that, write to support a CDP and put ambassador and we'll get you the information on there. The affiliate is easy. The affiliate, you do it right from your dashboard. That's super simple. The ambassador is someone that I'm going to have to get to know, someone that is going to have to, yes, audition to be able to demonstrate that they can teach this content in a coherent way. And so, but I need to leverage. It can't be just me or just myself and Dolores and Brandon. We're not only putting the band back together, we're expanding to orchestra. So we need some help. So step up. Anyway, that's my story and I'm sticking to it, folks. Thank you so much for being here. God bless you. Go out there and help as many people as possible. See you soon.